Okay, y'all, welcome back. Let me get straight into it. I'm going to be talking about the second episode of Sweet Tooth Good Dentist. I talked about the episode one in my previous videos. I'm going to talk about the second episode. I finished it and I did not love it. It was quite boring, in my opinion. It felt like a show where something is happening but nothing is really happening. That's what it was given, and I have noticed there were some BLs as of recently where it just feels like the main focus is just to showcase the ships in make them do lovable stuff and cute stuff here and there, and that's about it, right? They try to implement in a story, but it feels like the story is not necessarily the main thing, but they would utilize it when they need it to try and make the plot move forward. But it always feels a bit detached, because it's like it just kind of comes out of nowhere just so that it can create some sort of vulnerable moment that doesn't really connect to, at least me, in my opinion, right? Yeah, and I've noticed that with a lot of BLs, and this one had the exact same thing. There isn't much of a story. I think I said it in the first episode that it felt like there isn't much of a story, but the second episode really proved that there isn't much of a story here. They're just going to try and pull in the audience with those vulnerable moments which are not built up properly, and they're mostly focused on the two guys, having little ship moments here and there. I think that's all the show probably has to offer, and I'm not really that excited for that. I don't know. I was thinking about actually taking my time and watching everything, because I'm like, you know what, it looks like a feel good show or whatever, so it will be good, right? But then nothing really happens. I don't know what the entire plot is at this point. It feels like it's taking forever to get to the main thing because they don't have anything to tell us. So therefore, they're just dragging it out. Because how is it that by the second episode, this guy still hasn't gotten his teeth checked out? I mean, they did actually make him check out his teeth, right? But they didn't even focus on that. Like the entire first two episodes, the entire point is for this guy to probably get over his fear of checking out his teeth and stuff like that, or going to the dentist, right? But then when it got to the moment where he actually got there and they were about to check out the teeth, they didn't even show us that part. And to me, I felt like that was the most important part, because I felt like that's what the story was building up to. But no, they just got there and so that the guy can say, "Oh, I am here for you." So I'd be like, "Oh, that's adorable." And I'm like, "Girl, please move on. Let's get to the main tea, right? What you're trying to build up. That if that's what you're building up, then that's a very weak build up." Because they immediately after that they did the slow zooms and stuff, and then they cut to them being outside, and I'm like, what just happened? You know, it just feels like there is nothing really happening in the story, and I was really excited for this story. I really was, but it just at some point it feels like there's too many random stuff happening. I really have no idea what's going on. Let me pause and think about it for a minute. Okay, I am back. I have thought about it, and there are even certain things that are not even making sense. Which is one, the song guy, for example. Based on the story, he's very scared of the dentist. He's very scared of getting his teeth checked out due to this trauma here and there. They were trying to force it so that it would make you feel sad, but I could see through it. It was not making me sad in any way whatsoever. It was not pulling me in. Anyway, he has that fear or whatever have you, right? So you would think that a guy that has that fear would take care of his teeth, so at the very least he would not have to go see the dentist again, right? No, the guy doesn't do that. All he eats are sweets, sweets, sweets. So it just makes you think: is this person correct in the head or something? Because you are afraid of that thing, but then you are doing stuff that will cause you problems so that you would have to go to that thing which you're afraid of because you don't want to be there. It just doesn't, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then with the Dre character, so far they've shown him to be some sort of weird, a little bit of a stalker kind of person, but they they first interacted like a year and 6 months ago, right? And since then they've never interacted again until he met him at the dentist place. So that too, that part of the plot doesn't really make sense to me, because if he has this kind of stalkish vibe and what have you vibe, why hasn't he been stalking him all this while? Why, or at the very least trying to interact with him here and there all throughout? Why hasn't he done that? You see, that is very interesting, because the plot itself is not really making sense. And on top of that, the story is just dragging it and taking forever to get to what it needs to get to. But even when it gets there, it just skips through it and then goes back to them eating croissants. And it's like, that's not what I'm here for. I want a good story. The ships, there are a lot of ships in this world. Give me a good story and stop with these ships. That is, oh my God, they got chemistry. So what? Every actor has chemistry at some point with the other actor. Okay, don't. Chemistry is not the only reason why I'm going to watch a show. There has to be a good story with it. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit annoyed because I was really excited for that show, and it's. I don't know. I'm not happy about that, and it's not the only show that has this kind of vibe. And I feel like a lot of GMM TV bills are starting to have this kind of vibe to their stories, and it's making me quite sad because I like bills. So for me to not enjoy them, it makes me feel a little bit not great about it, but whatever. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening, and what did you think about the show?